Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Fertility Dispensary. I'm so excited to have the opportunity to share a little bit with you about the products that I use in my practice and a little bit about Wellevate, which is how I deliver my treatment plans to patients. So welcome. I'm so glad that you're spending the next hour with me. Feel free to drop a hello message in the chat box. And if you do have questions throughout the presentation, feel free to enter them into the chat box. And if we have the opportunity towards the end, we'll answer questions. Otherwise, we can always try to follow up with you via your email. So let's go ahead and dive in. First, a little bit about me. I'm a naturopathic physician. I'm vice president at Emerson and Wellevate of medical education and of the Wellevate tool. But prior to that, I was been in practice about 15 years. Originally in a family practice environment, and now I solely focus on fertility, which has always been my love. But now I have a small practice where it's really all that I do. On top of that, I also teach quite a bit at conferences. Many of you I saw at IFS this last weekend, which was one of the best conferences I've ever been to, and I learned a ton, so it was great. And also through the Perfect Fertility platform, we have a bunch of web-based courses. So anyhow, it's super nice to meet you guys, and I really appreciate you being here. So let's cover what we'll cover. Today, I will be sharing with you a number of things. First is my favorite products for couples who are trying to conceive. We're going to cover products that I like for preconception support, and then women's health and men's health, focused around the main things like around hormone balance and egg quality for women, and then sperm health for men. Now, it's very difficult. Obviously, we cannot teach soup to nuts approaches to fertility in an hour. So I'm going to spend some time talking about products in categories. But you will definitely still need to apply your own clinical knowledge to think about what products you might use for a particular patient within that category. Also, we will be talking about how you can improve your patient outcomes and save time through Wellevate, which, for me, my practice is all online. It's, telemedicine-based practice. So Wellevate is such a smooth fit for me because I can deliver the recommendations to my patients through Wellevate, and they can purchase online. It helps us stay in communication. But even when I had an in-office practice, I used an online dispensary like Wellevate to augment that practice, and it really helped my patients stay connected between their visits. Rather than having to call my office and drive in, really no one is willing to do that nowadays. It's very rare that patients will go to that level of effort when things are available online. So I use Wellevate even when I had an in-office dispensary because it helped me make sure my patients were getting the best quality products that I'd selected through my practice. So we're going to talk a bit more about that. So let's start with preconception support. So a preconception protocol should include the following: a prenatal multivitamin for a woman or a standard multivitamin for a man, a good quality fish oil, and then if needed, vitamin D. And when I say if needed, with vitamin D, you want the levels to be at least about 60 to 80. I think it's nanograms per deciliter on blood tests, and that's a 25 hydroxy vitamin D or 25-OH vitamin D is a test that would be run on blood work. So you want to make sure that you're supplementing to get vitamin D into that optimal level. A lab will oftentimes report over 30 is normal, but you really want it to be more like 50 or 60 as a minimum. And you can do that. Usually you need to use more than an RDA amount of vitamin D. You might need to go up to, 2,000, 4,000, 6,000 IUs and just make sure you're monitoring the patient. A probiotic if needed. This would be if they have any evidence of digestive distress, if they have a history of antibiotic use, they have inflammation going on, that you want to make sure that their gut flora is balanced to remove the imbalance in gut flora as a contributing factor to any concern. And then lastly, iron if needed. If it's a woman, usually prenatals contain iron. Men don't need to take separate iron most of the time, but you would add iron if they are low in iron on testing and the multivitamin isn't enough. So I want to share with you some of my favorite products to choose from. This is preconception support for women. So I really have two favorite prenatals that I lean towards. The first is Thorne's Basic Prenatal. This is like my standard go-to for most patients. So it's a 3 a day. and it's a capsule. And so it has a typical vitamin smell, but like every multivitamin does from the B vitamins. But a capsule form is nice and slippery. It's very easy to swallow, and it's a really comprehensive prenatal in 3 capsules per day. And so for most women, this is going to be a really great foundation. If women have trouble with prenatal vitamins because it's causing nausea, particularly when they become pregnant, that can become an issue in the first trimester. Sometimes I will switch them to the Baby and Me multivitamin by Innate Response. And this is a 2-a-day product, and it's actually a tablet rather than a capsule. So a lot of clinicians and even a lot of patients have preferences of capsule or tablet. These both have great absorption. It really is a preference of what people like. The second is a fish oil. And so their fish oil, comes in a wide variety of forms. We have hundreds of them offered through Emerson and Wellevate. But my favorite is the Quell fish oil by Douglas Labs. The reason why I like this is it's really high dose, right? So it's about 1,000 milligrams of EPA plus DHA in a single soft gel. And it also contains 1,000 IUs of vitamin D in each soft gel. And vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamin, so it needs fat in order to cross through the gut wall and be absorbed into the bloodstream. And what a great addition to a fish oil, which is a fat, to put vitamin D in with it. So I love this kind of combination product here. And I like it because it's very high dose. So I had found that with less expensive fish oils, ones that you can find, because fish oil you can find pretty much anywhere now. Sometimes there's a quality issue or a freshness issue, but also there's a potency challenge. And when you want to have patients on 2 grams a day of EPA plus DHA, some of the products I've seen in the retail market, they would have to take like 6 or 8 or more soft gels daily, and patients don't want that. So I like this because it's, a single soft gel or a couple of soft gels daily. Okay. The other thing is when we're using high doses of fish oil, it can be less expensive and less soft gels to take it in a liquid form. Now, before you balk, this liquid, Thorne's Omega Superb, is so delicious. I've not tasted a fish oil like it. There are, smoothie type products available. We have those in our household too. Our kids love them. The one we have is from Barlean's. It's like a key lime smoothie, and the kids love it, and they ask for more. But it's tough to get high doses in the smoothie forms. This liquid is it has astaxanthin in it, so it's a little bit colored, like a little bit red, and then also it has a great taste, and they add a small amount of stevia, I believe, as a sweetener, so it actually has a nice taste to it, and it's a thin consistency oil. So when I talk with people about fish oil, I'll usually say, the thought of having a tablespoon or teaspoon of olive oil probably sounds pretty gross to you too. A lot of it is the oil consistency, not necessarily the fish flavor. So this one, the fish flavor is, not very strong. The flavor comes through quite a bit. This is a lemon berry flavor, so really nice. Other things on preconception support, I love the Emulsi D3. It's a drop from Designs for Health, and it's 2,000 units of vitamin D per drop. So it's very easy to get the doses that you need. My favorite probiotic right now is Claire Labs Therabiotic Complete. This is a great fit for most of my patients. Metagenics also makes really great probiotics, and that would be another group of probiotics I'd turn to find a more specialty product for a patient. CalMag 1-to-1 by Designs for Health is one of my favorite calcium with magnesium products. This CalMag is a 1-to-1 ratio of calcium and magnesium, and I typically find that women need a lot more magnesium. We have a lot of magnesium deficiency. I like that this is 1-to-1 instead of a standard product, which would be 2 parts calcium to 1 part magnesium, because you get a little bit more magnesium. So it's 100 milligrams of each in each capsule. And then if I need iron, I like Iron Extra by Vitanica. It contains iron, and then it contains nutrients like vitamin C that help with absorption of iron. So it would be just a single capsule per day with that. Now, that's a great foundational plan. Now, if you need to do additional work to support a woman's fertility, then you'd think about adding products that would focus on meeting a few different goals. The first is supporting egg quality. And there's a couple things that go into good egg quality. There's having good oxidative stress levels and enough antioxidants to combat the oxidative stress you're exposed to, whether that's from your own metabolism or from toxins in the environment or emotional stress that can increase oxidative stress, high sugar diet, things like that. The second thing is to support mitochondrial function. Mitochondria are the energy supportive organelles within our cells, so they need a lot of nutrients to produce ATP effectively. And then also to support androgen levels if they're low. That would be DHEA and testosterone for women. The second thing would be to balance hormones and support a regular, predictable cycle. And the third would be to help support good immune balance and help make the uterus a really healthy environment to support an easy implantation. So you're really thinking about healthy egg, healthy uterus, healthy cycle. And hopefully through the evaluation you do with a couple, you're able to narrow down what areas a patient needs. It's not typical that I'll give women supplements or a plan that will cover all of these things because they might not all be relevant. So when it comes to antioxidants, there are a lot of great ones out there. Melatonin, the second one in by Thorne, the Melatonin 3. This is a 3 milligram melatonin. Melatonin has great research to support egg quality, and it's a nice one to add, particularly if patients also struggle with sleeping. You would give it at bedtime because it will also help with sleep. You don't want to give that melatonin in the morning. Glutathione is one of my very favorite nutrients for fertility and actually for a lot of other areas. It's like our master antioxidant. We make it within our body, and we each have a different efficiency with how we make it. It's genetic, it's epigenetic, and it's environmental as far as how good our glutathione production is. So taking reduced glutathione orally can be a way to help support your oxidative levels too. The Pure Encapsulations product is great, 1 to 2 capsules per day. A capsule contains 100 milligrams of reduced glutathione. I always get asked about liposomal glutathione, and there are liposomal glutathione forms available also, but they tend to be a lot more expensive. And so when you look at the absorption, liposomal is better absorbed, but it also costs more money. So I think the reduced glutathione, based upon the data that I've seen, is a better fit, for a better value, I would say. Now, N-acetylcysteine by Vital Nutrients. N-acetylcysteine is an antioxidant in and of itself. It also is a precursor to glutathione, so it'll help your body make more. It's a building block for it. So NAC, typically you give 1,200 to 1,800 milligrams per day. This is another nutrient that has quite a lot of research in fertility. And then a couple others that I like that are OPC 100. OPCs are a grapeseed phytosome. So this is similar to the resveratrol type of products that you see in the marketplace. It's a separate antioxidant that comes from things like red wine and purple and blue and red fruits. So this one comes from grapeseed. And it's a really nice antioxidant if you want to start to add a little bit more diversity of antioxidants that you'd include. And then the last one here is Integrative Therapeutics, ProThriver's Wellness Flavonoid Complex. And this was actually designed as part of a suite of products for patients after they're in remission from cancer to help them stay healthy and just feel really well. But the ingredient lineup in it is really well suited also to fertility support for both men and women. So you'll see it show up for men too. Now, when it comes to androgen support, I would add these products if I tested a woman and found she had low testosterone or low DHEA. So DHEA here, this is a 25 milligram per capsule product. And the research on DHEA for egg quality and for fertility actually gives a dose of 25 milligrams 3 times per day. Now, I sometimes see side effects with that high dose, and you can get lower dosages of DHEA, like a 10 milligram or 5 milligram if you're concerned, but this would be an example of a 25 milligram product. Other options, if you want to focus more on herbal medicine, I love Tribulus, and Tribulus formula by Pure Encapsulations is a nice standardized extract of Tribulus. Tribulus, the constituent you want in the plant, is in very low concentration in the plant, so it doesn't titrate well into a tincture, so I find it really works better in a standardized extract in a capsule. And then the last one, I like to include different forms of supplements. So I like Gaia's maca powder because it's a powder. Maca doesn't have a really terrible flavor, so it's very easy to mix into food. And I think anytime you can kind of get that supplement or get that enhancement through a food, it's great. So this is purely just a gelatinized maca powder. It can be made into like maca balls if you look up recipes online, or it can be blended into a smoothie, blended into like yogurt or applesauce. It's very, very easy to take, and it would be 1 teaspoon per day. Again, with all of these things, I wouldn't necessarily give all of them, but I want to give you a few options that you could look at in that category. Next is mitochondria. So mitochondria are super important for healthy egg and healthy sperm. And I like to put almost all of my patients on CoQ10, men and women. I like UBQH by Integrative Therapeutics. This is a branded raw ingredient. What's called Konica is the manufacturer's name, Konica CoQ10. And it's a ubiquinol form of CoQ10. This is 100 milligrams. If I'm doing it as part of kind of a baseline plan, I might just use a single capsule, but there's actually research going up to 600 milligrams per day of CoQ10 showing benefit. So I typically am aiming for like 1 to 200 milligrams per day. Ubiquinol can get pretty expensive, so I'm always cognizant to not use more than I need. Okay. Mitochondrial energy, I might choose for a patient who has evidence of more mitochondrial dysfunction. And the reason for that is it contains CoQ10, but also a wide range of other nutrients, alpha lipoic acid, several vitamins that also work together to enhance mitochondrial function. So you could use both together, or you could choose one or the other. And then just a couple other things that I would think about for healthy eggs. The first is a turmeric resveratrol combo. Again, great antioxidants, or I like to call them plantioxidants. You like what I did there? You know, these are the plant-based phyto compounds that have a really positive effect in the body. Again, I love this as a way to kind of diversify what's coming in from an antioxidant perspective. And then lastly is Senatol, which is Metagenics powdered inositol. Now, inositol is a really important nutrient for blood sugar balance, and it has a lot of really great research on several different systems of the body, from mental health through fertility. It's also been extensively studied and can help support egg quality in women, particularly if they have PCOS. But really, it's been helpful for all women for egg quality. So this is, again, a scoop. One scoop contains 4 grams of inositol, and that's the dose that you want to aim for. It's a myo-inositol form. It doesn't have a bad taste, so again, it's easy to mix into a drink or into food and diversify and like kind of decrease the number of capsules that you're taking. Okay, so we've talked about kind of the quality of the egg or the follicle, helping make sure that that is good quality. The next kind of category of products I would think about is hormone balance. Now, the products you would use for a woman for hormone balance are going to vary depending upon what's happening, of course. Women's cycles can become irregular in a wide variety of ways. So it's tough to give in a 1-hour webinar everything that you might use, but here are some of the products that I stock that are my go-tos for a number of different types of imbalances. So the first pairing that I want to talk about are called PhytoEst and PhytoProgest by Wise Woman Herbals. These are what are called a biphasic tincture. And what that means, a tincture is an alcohol extract of herbs, and this contains a combination of herbs for each. The PhytoEst contains herbs that support healthy estrogen levels, and the PhytoProgest are herbs that support healthy progesterone levels. So the way that you would dose these is you would kind of alternate them. A PhytoEst is used for the first half of the cycle when estrogen is the most important hormone. So that would be like the day women start their period, which is cycle day 1, through about day 14, which is ovulation. After ovulation, they would switch to the PhytoProgest product to support progesterone levels in the second half of the cycle. So they would start with ovulation, let's say day 15, and then take it until they'd start their period again. So this can be really great for irregularities. I like to use it, for example, when a woman's cycle is a little bit short and I want to help her make a little more progesterone and lengthen the cycle, and just assist with healthy estrogen production in the first half of the cycle. So a really great combo there. I also love this product by Ayush Sidawari. So Sidawari contains just the herb Shatavari, which is an Ayurvedic botanical, and it's really like a toner for the woman's hormone system. It's used in India for a wide variety of reasons. Like, for example, it's used to support the healthy lining of a uterus. It's used to help with women who are breastfeeding. It's used to help women kind of feel good throughout their lives. And they say that Shatavari in India, they say it's for the woman with 1,000 husbands. So if it gives you an idea, kind of that anecdotal description, gives you a nice idea of when you might use Shatavari or how you might feel if you take it. In fact, I probably should get myself on this at this point. You couldn't talk about hormone balance without talking about adrenal health. Now, the adrenal glands, we think about it as stress managing, and of course, stress is super important to have under control for healthy fertility. But believe it or not, the adrenal glands also produce like more than 95% of our DHEA. So DHEA is a precursor for a variety of other hormones, and you need to have enough around. And when we're under times of stress, the adrenal glands might have a decreased function and a decreased production of DHEA. So this HPA Axis product by Gaia is a really nice product for adrenal support. And I love it because it contains a wide variety of botanicals, but it contains mostly herbs that are helpful, that are calming, versus adrenal herbs that are more stimulating, like a Panax ginseng would be more stimulating, where this contains like holy basil and ashwagandha and rhodiola that can be a little bit more mellowing. And I just find that for most of my patients, a mellowing effect is really desirable, versus something that would, give you an energy boost in a way that's more stimulating, almost like a caffeine would feel. So I love this nice balanced product. There are so many great adrenal products on the market, and but this is the one that I probably go to the most commonly in my practice. And uniquely, Gaia uses this liquid filled capsule. So it's a capsule, but it looks like this brown sludge inside. And essentially, want to simplify the process they use in manufacturing, they start with a tincture and evaporate it until it becomes like a thicker, sludgy product, and then it gets encapsulated. And I love using tinctures. I find them to be really effective, particularly when it comes to hormone types of modulating products. But a lot of patients don't want the taste of the alcohol, or they don't want the liquid. So Gaia's innovation here with how they package herbs is really unique, and I love it. And I find that patients respond really well to it. I've also included Vitex tincture. Now, Vitex tincture works by improving communication between the brain, the hypothalamus, and the pituitary, and the ovaries. So this can be a really nice first step if you're not quite sure what's going on hormonally. It acts as a toner, and it also has a lot of different effects in the body, kind of depending upon where the woman's hormones are at. It can help to boost progesterone levels. It also can help to get prolactin levels either to come down or come up, depending upon the dosage that's used. So Vitex is like one of my best friends for a women's health dispensary. And then I also like Hormone Balance by Vital Nutrients. And this product is really designed with nutrients that assist with kind of the breakdown and elimination, particularly of estrogen. So there's a lot of estrogen dominant conditions out there, like endometriosis and fibroids and things like that we know are caused by a over, exposure to estrogen. And there's a lot of things in our environment that actually introduce estrogen-like compounds in our body. A lot of toxins like phthalates and BPA that actually have an estrogen-like effect in the body. So these types of nutrients can help to support the liver, get the liver processing and conjugating and eliminating those estrogen-like compounds more efficiently. So it contains ingredients like DIM, the diindole methane, and a variety of other nutrients to assist with that hormone breakdown and hormone detoxification. Okay, so let's shift gears a bit and talk a bit about sperm. So with production of sperm, they require many of the same nutrients as eggs in order to be good quality. And actually, sperm has a lot more data on quality than eggs do because it's so easy to do the research compared to eggs in women, where with men, they could give a sample, take a nutrient, and then give another sample, and you can measure a difference. But for women to retrieve an egg, it's actually a surgical procedure that they have to be put under general anesthesia for. So much more difficult to get access to eggs versus sperm. So there's really good data in this area. Now you'll see the products that I recommend are similarly antioxidants, mitochondrial support products, and then androgens that would support testosterone production. And there's really, if you look at a semen analysis, there's a variety of things we look at, but the three biggest are sperm count, sperm motility, which is how well they swim, and sperm morphology, which is like, is their shape appropriate? Okay. If you see a lower sperm count, you want to think about making sure there's overall nutrition. That would be like nutrient status, and even protein intake can make a difference, and also antioxidant health. Sperm motility is antioxidant dependent, but also heavily responsible are the mitochondria. because they're the energy producing parts of that cell, and you want to make sure that those sperm are actually, making energy because they need a lot of energy to move. And then the last is sperm morphology. And with sperm morphology, I'm always looking at lifestyle factors to see if there's any toxins in the environment that might be contributing to damage to DNA, like smoking, for example. Even marijuana, you have to be just as cautious as with tobacco, that it can cause oxidative stress, and it's a toxin. So you want to make sure you're eliminating it. And then also looking at antioxidants. So let's talk a little bit about with men. So I always start again with a good foundation of preconception support. So fish oil would be the same, but with the vitamins, prenatal is not necessarily the most appropriate for a man. So I look at a couple of good vitamins that I love. The first is by Pure Encapsulations. It's called One Multivitamin, and it's called that because it's a one a day. And generally, a one a day I find is not enough to meet the needs of most people, but this is a really smartly formulated one a day that I think can be a great fit for a lot of different patients out there. I also love it because it has 50 milligrams of CoQ10 per capsule. It has higher levels of some of the nutrients we look most at, like zinc and chromium and vitamin D. So I really love this formulation, and I use this very frequently. If it's not enough, because there is a limitation for what you can get into a single capsule, I like Thorne Basic Nutrients 2 a day as the next step up. And they do have multivitamins that are like a 6 a day multivitamin that are far more comprehensive. But these two are great, and they contain adequate amounts of the majority of the nutrients. And I just find compliance to be better. When I'm asking any patient to take 6 capsules of a multivitamin, that's okay for some patients, but for many people, it's going to feel overwhelming. And I'm going to be adding to this base protocol. So typically, I want to use a multi that's not going to be like a 6 a day multi, leaving room in their pill box for some other things. I've included here the same vitamin D and probiotic for men. You wouldn't necessarily be putting men on a calcium and magnesium unless they needed those nutrients, and men might need magnesium deficient as well. And similarly, an iron. Men rarely need iron the way that women do. So let's talk about sperm health. So these are some of my favorite nutrients for antioxidant support. You'll see glutathione shows up again here, which I've talked about, and that ProThrivers Wellness Flavonoid Complex, and N-acetylcysteine by Vital Nutrients. Now, the ProThrivers Wellness Flavonoid Complex also has a bit of carnitines in it, and you'll see the carnitines on the far right. Now, carnitines are a great antioxidant and a great mitochondrial support. And there's actually great data, particularly on motility of sperm, and other sperm parameters, showing that L-carnitines can be very helpful in improving those parameters for men. So the way that I typically dose it is following what's coming out in clinical research, is that the best dose is about 3 grams per day total of carnitines. Now, acetyl L-carnitine is a bit more expensive, so you can use a combination where you would give 1 gram of acetyl L-carnitine plus 2 grams of L-carnitine. And that can be a little bit cost saving, and you'll still get a good benefit from it. And that's been, the dosing has been tested and researched. So typically acetyl L-carnitine, these are both 500 milligrams per capsule. So you could do 2 acetyl L-carnitine plus 4 regular L-carnitine as a good standard dose. If cost wasn't an issue, you could shift more of that to the acetyl L-carnitine to see if you could get additional benefit there. For mitochondria, I've talked about UBQH and the mitochondrial energy products, which I love. And then a couple of other things for men that show up in clinical research. One is arginine. So arginine is an amino acid that helps to improve blood flow, and it will improve sperm function as well in clinical research. So this would be 750 milligrams, and you'd give about 200 caps. 200 caps. Oh my gosh, 2 caps per day. And then one of the herbs I love for men, again, this is by Ayush Herbs, is ashwagandha. So just like shatavari for women, ashwagandha is a great tonic herb for men. In India, it's used regularly for men to support longevity throughout their lifespan. And the kind of anecdotal description of ashwagandha is that if you take ashwagandha for 1 year, you'll have the strength of 10,000 horses for 10 years. That's not a claim. I don't know that that's going to actually happen, but that's kind of the anecdotal way that ashwagandha is described abroad, where it's used primarily. So it's a ground root. Ashwagandha can be found in a powder, but I love this capsule, and I would do 2 to 4 capsules per day. And ashwagandha's main effect is on adrenal health, but ashwagandha has been tested with sperm health directly because it's a great antioxidant, believe it or not. So it does a great double duty. So ashwagandha has this nice calming effect on the adrenal glands. It's a nice relaxing adrenal herb and also has antioxidant benefits. So it's like a win-win all around. And then a couple other nutrients for sperm health. Vitamin C, this is like a standard nutrient that I think is underrated when it comes to fertility. Vitamin C's got really great data as an antioxidant. So there's a wide variety around. This is just a simple ascorbic acid, and you would do 1 to 3 capsules per day. And then another product that I like that I use very frequently is ACEs Plus Zinc by Carlson. It contains vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, selenium, and zinc. And these are your vitamin mineral antioxidants that are really key for the body. So that would be just 1 a day with food. So typically I will be overlaying a good preconception plan, targeted nutrients, and with antioxidants, generally the better approach is to take or to administer, recommend a wide variety of antioxidants at lower doses versus trying to target any one specific antioxidant at a high dose. So you want that broad spectrum. In fact, sometimes I will put patients on a rotating list of antioxidants where when they finish one, I might put them on a different one because each antioxidant, without getting too complex in the biochemistry, they act by a different steps in our metabolic pathways, and they have a little bit of a different effect in our body. So you want to get a little bit more of a blanket approach versus kind of heavy hitting a single process with a single antioxidant. So a bit about my practice. So I want to shift gears. I think it's really important when you look at an effective dispensary, it's not just about what products you give, it's about making sure the patients take them and are compliant. I tell my patients all the time, like, let me know if this plan doesn't seem workable for you because you're not going to see improvement if you can't follow it. And it's their job to be honest with me, and it's my job to make sure that I create a plan that they can do. Sometimes it might not be 100% of what I wish they would do, but you need to start where the patient's at. So my practice right now is solely fertility. I work remotely with clients and work with them to kind of coach their fertility. Oftentimes they've been through IVF or other processes that have failed. Once in a while, I'll get couples who are coming to me just to be proactive and really prepare for when they want to try to start to conceive. Those are my dream patients, but I think generally people come when they've had a struggle. My practice right now is all through like online coaching and consultation. So online dispensary is a super awesome fit for me. And like I said, in order to have an effective dispensary, you really want to make sure that it's efficient, both for you and for your clients, and that you're giving an effective recommendation, which is why we talk about products with you. But in order for things to work, products have to be in stock and available quickly to patients. Now, when I had a big office, we had a large dispensary. It was an entire room, and we probably stocked, I would say, probably $10,000 to $15,000 of product at any given time. And even still, we would find times where product was out of stock. And then we would have to special order that for the patient, wait for it to come in, call them, and have them come and pick it up, or we'd drop ship it to the patient. But that required my staff time to do that kind of special order for them. Also, quality is huge. As I'm sure you're aware, there's like brands of supplements everywhere. In fact, I've even seen them in the dollar store, which is crazy to me that you could buy a bottle of fish oil for $1. It scares me to know what might be in there. And there's a lot of adulterated product on the market, a lot, particularly in the realm of hormone support, especially male hormone support. And sometimes the products just aren't as fresh or the ingredients aren't as good quality. And having seen a lot of facilities and how they manufacture and the ingredients they're buying, quality is so important with getting good outcomes. And then lastly, refills have to be quick and easy to access or just automatic for the patient. And then I'm going to share with you some of the things I do when I'm delivering a treatment plan to make sure that the instructions are really clear, because I see a lot of practitioners that either don't provide things in writing or it's like scribbled on a piece of paper. and it might be kind of shorthanded. And then when the patient leaves, they're not quite sure what they should be doing. So it also has to be delivered in a way that it's very clear what patients should do. And I use Wellevate for full disclosure, and I actually used eLink, the prior dispensary, even before I worked with Emerson. So I've loved this dispensary tool that they've offered long before I had any connection with the company as an employee. Emerson also has a quality program, so this is the gold seal for it. So when you're looking in Wellevate or on Emerson, you'll see brands that we have done an extensive evaluation, including on-site audit, including our own product testing of their products through our own independent contracted labs to make sure the products are really good quality and are going to meet the needs of your patients. So I want to just kind of show you quickly how I deliver the treatment plan through Wellevate. So this is the Wellevate homepage. I would click the login button in the upper right corner, and it lands you on this nice dashboard. Now in the upper right hand side, you can see make recommendation. And here is where you can start a recommendation. So you'd enter in the patient's name, and this is my husband's name, so I'm not like putting any patients at risk here. You're not seeing anything. This is a real recommendation in my real Wellevate, but his. But we have a lot of protocols, which I'll show you, and protocols can be hugely time saving. So there's a fertility foundations protocol that I've built in what we call our protocol library, which you get when you sign up for an account with Wellevate, you get access to. And this is actually just a pre-built protocol that we offer to you. You can also build your own, and I'll show you what that looks like. But when you select the protocol, literally by just typing in a couple of letters, it'll pull up a drop down, you can select it. It fills the entire protocol. So it includes a personal message for the patient that I've written. This is all editable if you want to change it for that particular patient. It includes attachments that I want that patient to receive. So for a new client, for example, I always want to give them my diet guide. I give a guide to Clean Beauty, which is a PDF that shows them some of my favorite brands and products on the personal care side so they can get rid of products that contain toxins. And then, excuse me, I'd also share week 1 of a meal plan for them. And then you can see the button to add additional attachments there. And then below that, you can add the products or edit the products. So all the products get pre-built in a protocol as well. So you can see the start of the protocol here with the basic prenatal, the dosing that I recommend, any special instructions. And I also could, if you look above the special instructions, I could click that button to program to send that patient a reorder reminder so that when they're about to run out, they get an email saying, hey, you should be due to reorder this product, click here to refill. Okay, so that helps patients remember so that they're not like opening the cabinet and pouring out the last one and realizing that, they really should have ordered more a couple of days ago. Now within Wellevate, on that upper blue bar, you can see the third one in, protocols. If you click on protocols, you'll see a list of all of your protocols. And these are ones you can build yourself. For example, I have the top one, Sperm Quality Comprehensive, that I built this morning for the webinar today. And you can start here and click send, and it will pull up the protocol just like I showed you on the last slide. You could edit the protocol. You could make a copy of it and make changes and save it with a new name, or you can delete it. Or you could also start with the protocol library, the tab on the right. And these are the ones that are offered to everyone when you open a Wellevate account. And it's so exciting. We're putting in, a number like 2 to 4 new protocols every month from thought leaders. So these are people, and I'd love to know, feel free to email us if there's people you'd love to learn from. But for example, like what does Dan Kalish use to support mitochondria? Or, experts like Diane Rishikoff, who's written a book. She's a dietitian who's written a book on digestion. She shared her protocol for occasional reflux. Or Tori Hudson, one of my mentors in women's health, shared her protocol for PCOS. So they share their favorite products, the dosages they like, and even attachments and things that they like to use with their clients. So it's a super amazing resource that you can tap into once you have a Wellevate account. So you can see the way that pulls in here when it comes to how to build that recommendation. If you want to add additional products or build a recommendation not using a protocol, it looks the same. Here I'm building a new recommendation, but you can see in the search box here, I'm searching for the Pure One multivitamin. It's actually called One multivitamin, but I think of it as pure from pure encapsulations, but we have a smart search, so it will drop down and show you the products it thinks you're searching for. Then when you select a product, it will pop up all the product details so you can look and see whether this is really what you want. You can see the product image, the price. You can see this one is one of our gold quality partner products, and you can see the details so you can see dosing and everything. Okay, if you want it, you would click add to recommendation and it drops you in this dosage instructions, and very quickly you can enter in the dose you want and then scroll down and click add to recommendation, and then that product will show up on your recommendation. And then you would just add your next product and go from there. Okay. Also, you can favorite products. When you see the products and you click that blue star, it will save it as a favorite for you. And when you go to look at products, it will rise your own favorites to the top so that they're easier to see if you're using this tile format. Okay. And then you would send it. And when you click send, you will get this pop-up box telling you it was sent to the patient. And then you also have the opportunity to click create protocol here. So you don't necessarily need to build all your protocols in advance. If you build a protocol for a patient for anything, let's say you're building one to support sperm motility, once you build that protocol, you actually could you build the recommendation, you can save it and name it and then keep it in your protocol library to use next time. So super helpful way to save time as you're using Wellevate more and more. Now, the other thing I love is that my patients love Wellevate, and it's gotten even more so since January when we launched our patient app. So you can see on my phone the Wellevate icon here. This is on iPhones. It's available for iOS devices, and it's in the Apple App Store. You just have to search for Wellevate. And this is not for practitioners to use, it's a patient app. So when the patient logs in, they're dropped on the screen on the left, which shows them their most recent recommendation, and they can swipe to the left to see previous recommendations in that little square. And then you see the pill box below. Now the pill box will show them anything that they've ever ordered before. So it allows them to quickly see the products and reorder. Now, if they click the box that says May 2nd, 2019, that recommendation, it pops open that recommendation page. And here you can see everything that I just sent to Andrew within his account. So it has the message, hello, great to meet you today. And if they click on that, it will open up so you can read the whole message. It contains all of the attachments, and you'll see on the right-hand side, this is the meal plan attachment. When you click, it shows right in your phone. It's a PDF, but it opens up in the phone. And so this way, for example, they could see the shopping list right within the app that I'd sent to them. So there's no loss of paperwork. There's no patients who, you give them a treatment recommendation paperwork, they go home, they misplace it, they don't know what to do, they call your office, ask for it again. Here within Wellevate, within the app, or if they log in online, they can see not only the recommendation you just gave them, but they could see, for example, what product you recommended when, their child was going back to school and they wanted an immune support, and you recommended that for them last year. They can just flip back through this and see it, or they'll see it in their pill box. So for me, it saves a lot of communications with patients where they have to reach out to me to say, what was that thing that you gave me for X? So I really love it. And patients can very quickly see their recommendation, click the order all button, and then they get dropped into a checkout process. Okay, when they go to checkout, you can see in the middle box here that they're prompted to see if they want auto refill. Patients love auto refill because it's like dummy proof. And I have everything delivered that I can on a schedule, like our dog food and even our like flea and tick medication for our pets, and for us, a lot of our groceries and home supplies and diapers, all that stuff is on auto refill, and it just saves so much time. And a lot of patients are electing to put their products on auto refill. And that's great for you because it means that they continue to get them through your practice, and they're not in a position where, excuse me, they look at the bottle, they realize they're out, and they go like to Amazon or somewhere that they're already shopping that's not necessarily with you and with your practice. I wanted to point out on the right, that black view, you can see the patient file. Patients also can see all the information here, and within the patient file, they can do some cool things. I don't show it to you here, but they can send a referral by text to a friend. So they actually can, with a single button, it'll open up a text that's pre-populated with copy saying, hey, this is a practitioner I was telling you about. Here's all their information. Check them out. and they can just select who they want to send it to and send it. So it's a great way for patients to share information about you and your practice with other people and give all the pertinent information like your website, your business name, your phone number, etc. Also, patients can self-serve quite a bit in the app, and this is the same as online. They can see their order history, and if they click view order, they can do things like track shipping if they're looking for the product and wonder where it is, or they can get their copy of their invoice, etc. So it's super easy for patients too. So, my experience has been Wellevate really makes my practice work. I find it super easy to use. And I really like the fact that it keeps the recommendations I make front and center for patients. Most of my clients always have their phones on them or easily accessible. So it's not, they're not going to lose the paperwork. It really keeps things organized for them. And it also makes all the instructions super clear. So there's total clarity, no confusion, and they know exactly what to do. For myself, I find it super time saving because I use a lot of protocols to start and then I'll edit them by adding products that are unique or by just deleting products that I don't want to use. And so it's really time saving for me versus building something from scratch every time. And the thing that I love that's really helpful is Wellevate is now like a nearly passive revenue stream for my practice. I have to build the recommendations in for a patient, but I have patients that I've been seeing for years that I might only do like a once a year wellness check-in at this point, um, and they are still buying their multivitamin and their fish oil and kind of the ongoing products through Wellevate, which is really a nice way to support my income. And they like it because they want to support my small business instead of buying from like a giant, supplement supplier or like a Walmart or Costco or things like that. So patients really, they stick with me for the good quality products and for supporting my small business versus going elsewhere online, which is kind of a win-win for everybody. And also, it'll ensure the quality and just make sure ease of access for patients. So it's been a real win. So I wanted to share a couple of tips also because we get a lot of questions about like, well, how do you deliver an effective treatment plan and how do you get your patients to stay compliant? And I find a lot of practitioners struggle with that. And when I've talked with people who have really successful practices and who are getting great patient outcomes, there's a couple of things that they do consistently in when they're delivering recommendations that I think really make a difference in how effective the patient can be in following the plan. So the first is you have to tell them what you think is going on and why it happens, right? So when it comes to fertility, here would be an example. So say your labs show that your follicle and egg quality looks a bit low. We really need to work to improve that. And we also need to get your cycle regular so that you know how to time conception attempts better. So I'm explaining to the patient what I think is going on and what I think we're going to do to address it. So then I would move to, what I'm recommending to them, like what I want them to do and why I want them to do that. And people forget the why. And I always see this, like a great example is when patients first come in to see you and they bring their giant bag of supplements that you can look through to see what they're taking. And you ask them like, well, what about this vitamin E? Why are you on a separate vitamin E? And the response is something like, well, I don't really remember, but I read it in a magazine and I thought it was really like supposed to be really good for me, so I've been taking it. You want patients to know why they're taking what they're taking. That's going to help them also understand what the benefit is to them, and that's going to make them want to be more consistent with the protocol, right? They want to know what the benefit is that they're going to achieve if they can be on that regularly. So I would say something like, these first products on this list are for general preconception support. I want to make sure you have all the nutrients you need to conceive and to have a healthy pregnancy. Those are things like folate, iron, omega-3s. So I would go through products like that to talk about the benefit, much like I did with you in the first half of the webinar. Now, a couple other things are you need to talk with them about quality of supplements versus what they'll find in the marketplace and the fact that quality matters. This is a differentiating piece that I've seen in talking to clinicians about patients who stick with the clinician's dispensary versus patients who buy the cheapest thing they possibly can in replacement. And oftentimes that cheap version won't work because the dose is wrong or because the ingredients are poor quality. So you should explicitly say it. I want you to make sure you stick with these brands. They have the dosages you need and they're trusted. I trust these brands. This is why I picked these specific products for you. If you don't get them through our Wellevate dispensary, we can talk about other options that will be easier for you. So you don't need to peg them into doing it or force them to buy from Wellevate, but you do want to talk about the benefit. Like you trust those things and they want to buy what you trust because they know it's going to work. You want to discuss things like freshness or the fact that if you buy from a less reputable supplier, for example, they might store the bottles in a hot environment, which could really damage the ingredients inside, or even the quality of ingredients. Like, for example, fish oil is an easy one. Like, you can spend $50 on a month's supply of fish oil, or you could probably spend $5 on a month's supply of fish oil. But there is a huge quality difference, and you're not going to get the same potency or the same quality. And, for example, with fish oil, if there's rancidity, they can be so oxidized that they cause more harm than benefit in the body. Those are the kinds of things you want to share with patients. Or with herbs, sometimes herbs won't contain the right constituent, or they won't be concentrated, so there won't be as potent. Or with herbs, there's a lot of adulteration where it's the wrong plant inside the product. It's not the right species that's going to be most effective. So those quality issues, it's great to talk about with your patients and clients. And then the last is how to access the recommendations. That's another piece that gets missed. And as a follow-up to the webinar, you're going to get a copy of like an example template treatment plan that I utilize. So the way that I do it in my practice is I have like one template, and I actually go in and delete the sections that aren't relevant, both on the product side and on the information side that's towards the bottom, like what labs I recommend or lifestyle changes I recommend. So I'm giving you like the full shebang, but you would delete the things you don't use off of that template. And there I include instructions for how to use Wellevate to access the product, but I also tell them, I'll say you'll receive an email tonight that invites you to Wellevate. That's where my online dispensary, and that's where I recommend you get the products. I might talk about quality there. I want you to complete the registration, and then you're going to be able to view your recommendations from me, and you can order it right there. It's so easy. Also, for my practice, I offer a 20% discount to all patients to make it super economical. It should probably be the place that you can get the products for the least amount of money. And there's also free shipping when you order more than $49, so it's affordable. So I like to explain those benefits up front. With Wellevate, you can offer patients a discount, or you can choose not to. I give my patients a substantial discount, but it's a wide variety. We can talk, if you have questions, we can definitely talk about like what the best discount might be for you, or call our support team and they can kind of talk you through based upon who you think you'll be seeing and how you want to use Wellevate. I also have started talking to them about the app. And like I said, my patients are totally loving the app. So I'll encourage them to download it, or I'll say, oh, you can go to the App Store and download it right now if you want to. That way I can make sure you get the right one. And if not, sometimes I'll even pull out my phone and show them how the app works, that they'll see the recommendation in the app when it comes through. So they really love it. And then when it comes to building the plan, this is kind of the back end side of the dispensary. I build after the visit. So because I'm doing it through like a teleconsult, so it would feel weird for me to like open up a new window on my computer to build the treatment recommendations for my patient. So I do it after the visit, but I'll always tell them like you'll be receiving the treatment plan or recommendations through an email tonight. You'll see it through Wellevate, so look for that email from me and from Wellevate. But a lot of clinicians are doing it during the visit. Whether you step out of the room or whether you're right there, you can take a minute to build the plan, particularly if you're using protocols. It can take like minutes or less. Then you actually can talk through the recommendations for your client right there in the office using your computer and kind of sharing the screen with them. That eliminates the need to spend more time after the visit or any extra work. And like I said, if you start with protocols, you can save tons of time. And then the third way is some people have their front desk staff do it. So if you have a really institutionalized process where you're building recommendations already, you like the process you use, and you don't want to have to input them yourself, you could always have your front desk staff look at your EHR, EMR if you're using one, or they look at the printed document that you give to your patient that you send them home with, and they can build it in there right after the patient checks out or right before the patient checks out either. So there's a couple different ways. And then I'd encourage you to get your patients to download the app right in the office. So I only have a couple more minutes. If you want to learn more, first of all, this recording and then my recommendation template will be sent to everyone for today's webinar. I know we move really fast. And so if you want to go back to listen to a part again, you can. And you'll also get my PDF kind of template of what I use with the products and doses and how I show that to a patient, just as an example. And And if you want to sign up for Wellevate today, I totally recommend you do it and give it a try. There's no cost to try it, and I think you'll find the efficiency of the product and what it can do for your practice, both from an efficiency standpoint, from kind of serving your patients in a more modern way, rather than giving handwritten paperwork. Now you can move to having your patients get their recommendations in an app, which is pretty cool. And it will also help with retaining and kind of growing your practice revenue in a way that offers you like a passive revenue stream. Generally, we see that even clinicians who have a strong in-office dispensary and they want to keep using their in-office dispensary, when they add Wellevate, their revenue goes up by nearly 30% when it comes to supplements. So that can probably have a positive impact on your practice if you think about what you do with that extra money. When you sign up for Wellevate, you'll also get access to dozens of more protocols in the library, like you saw, from thought leaders like Dan Kalish, Dr. Paul Anderson, Carrie Jones, etc. So there's so many great protocols, and like I said, we're launching those regularly. Okay, so thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate you spending the hour with me. I know how precious time is when you're a clinician, so I'm so excited that you guys were able to join. If you do have any questions, please feel free to contact us at Wellevate, and otherwise, we hope you have a really fantastic week. Thank you.